In today's lesson, we're going to hear about Solomon, who is David's son, and how he built a temple that was like the tabernacle. The people of God came into the promised land. David and the people of God began to live in Jerusalem, but something was missing. It was the ark. David and his army went to get the ark. When David went to his palace, he said, "I live in a house made out of cedar, but the ark of God sits in a tent made out of curtains. I'll ask Nathan to build God a temple." Nathan said, "Do all that's in your heart." But in a dream, the Lord said for Nathan to tell David, "Have I asked for a house of cedar? After you die, your sons will build me a house." David made plans for a temple, but gave them to his son Solomon. All the people had to help build the temple. Some went to the north, to Lebanon, to cut down and bring home great cedar trees. They cut stones out of the mountains nearby and prepared the wood and stone to begin. The temple began to grow, and the people were amazed. There was a great hall for people to come close to God. The great timbers of cedar made it smell wonderful. There was an inner room called the Holy of Holies, where the ark was kept. The high priest entered only on the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the year. The temple was beautiful, with carvings of olive wood and gold. Inside the temple were the same things that helped them get ready to meet God when they were in the desert. The ark was carried inside by the priests and placed in the Holy of Holies. Here is the incense burner. Fragrant smoke filled the temple as the incense burned. Here is the table. It had the bread for each of the 12 tribes on it. And finally, here is the menorah. It had 7 branches and lamps burning. On the day that the priest first carried the ark inside, a great cloud of dazzling light filled the temple. God was there. In the front of the temple, there was an altar. It was like the one that was in front of the tent, but this one was bigger. The same was true for the great basin of water. On the day all was ready, the king came before all the people. And this is what he said. "O Lord, God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above or on earth below, keeping covenant and showing steadfast love to thy servants, who walk before you with all their heart. But will God indeed dwell on earth? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less this house which I have built? Yet have regard to the prayer of your servant and to this supplication." He asked God to allow God's name to abide in the temple. He asked God to make this the place for people to come, to pray, and to find justice. Solomon ruled well and was wise. Some said he was wiser than anyone in the world. His father had been famous for his songs in war, but Solomon was famous for his wise sayings and the temple. Finally, after being king for 40 years, Solomon died and was buried in the city of David, where his father was buried, and Solomon's son was made king. I wonder if God thought the temple was better than the tent. I wonder which piece is most important. I wonder which part of the story you liked best. I wonder what we can learn about God from this story.